Why doesn't Chabad place emphasis on studying the Chofetz Chaim and the halachos of lashon hara?
I may get accused of blasphemy for what I'm about to say, but I really would rather not answer the question. You know why? Because I think we shouldn't talk lashon hara, period. Whether we should learn the Chofetz Chaim or we should learn the Sfarim from which the Chofetz Chaim took the Isser of lashon hara, we would do ourselves a huge favor if we'd be more careful about but not speaking lashon hara, because it's a terrible nemesis. Lashon hara is a terrible, terrible, terrible disease. It's a sickness, and we're not above it. You know, the Rabbi said in Memvov, in a Mugadik Sikh, the Sikh edited, you can see it, that the Chofetz Chaim was Eicha, that his Sfarim when his Kabbalah b'chol tfutzis Yisrael, that the whole world learns his Sfarim. And the Rebbe in Sichis explains that a person who writes a Sefer of Torah, that's Niskaba b'chol tfutzis Yisrael, that all Jews in the world learn, that's a siman, that Lamaila his Sfarim were accepted as emes. And the Rebbe made that association, that there's a special category of a Sefer which is Niskaba b'chol tfutzis Yisrael. The Chofetz Chaim lived technically less than 100 years ago. And the Rebbe says the fact that all Yidden in the world accept his Sfarim is a siman that Lamaila Sfarim were accepted. And the Rebbe said the reason the Chofetz Chaim was Zeicha that Sfarim with Niskaba b'chol tfutzis Yisrael while that's like gekocht and Navas Yisrael. And Navas Yisrael he meant the Yin of lashon hara. So honestly, I don't want to answer the question because we suffer from speaking too much lashon hara. It's a terribly destructive thing, and to cavalierly say, it's nit unser Sach, as if we're above it, is silly and false, and against everything that's real and important. Lashon hara is a very destructive force, and we're all victims of it, both in terms of speaking lashon hara and having lashon hara spoken about ourselves. Gossip is a midah shvela. Now, there's an old wise statement that I heard years ago from a very wise man, that there are three types of people. Intelligent people discuss ideas. Ordinary people discuss things. Low people discuss people. To sit around and talk about other human beings, even if there's no ill intent, is shuffle. It's low, it's embarrassing. It's mamish embarrassing. And sometimes you can have people who in other areas are quite intelligent and refined to sit and talk about bnei yadam as a davar shuffle b'yosef. So, there you have it. I mean, the Gemara says that Rambam brings it. Yeah, we all learn Rambam. Yeah, the Rambam says that Vitel HaKadosh Baruch Hu alav Eidazarek Vilaroyet Shvichas Daman V'lai Vitel Abba Bittel Lashon Hara. That's a Gemara. It's a Rambam. It's a halacha. Hashem forgives Avedazarek Vilaroyet Shvichas Daman. It would not overlook Lashon Hara, because Lashon Hara is a terrible thing and it's destroying us. Gossip, people talking about people busy. You know, hey lech Rachel. Going around dispensing of information about other human beings for no purpose, even if it's not meant to be disparaging. Poshet arum gein reden wegen Menschen is an embarrassment. It's undignified, and it's very costly as a community, and this is across the world. Gossip is a davar shuffle. You know, we live in an age where there's newspapers. Basically, what newspapers do is wash other people's dirty laundry. Newspapers are seats of gossip. A newspaper columnist tries to find your schmutz and put it in the paper so he can make a living. That's exactly what it is. And it's such a shameful vocation. It really is. It's a lowly occupation. If a person is reporting news and he's not talking about people, that's important. But if his purpose is to identify particular people, and usually he's not saying nice things about them and particular flaws, that's gossip. It's a heilach rachel, and it's lashon hara, and it's very sad that somehow it's been decided that this is not a part of Chassidus. It's not true. It's not true. If you respect yourself, you will not engage in discussing people, not because it's lashon hara, because it's so undignified. It so diminishes you. But I still need to answer the question, right? The question is, why isn't there an official campaign in Chabad about lashon hara, and why we don't kochzich in the Sefer Chofetz Chaim itself? The second question you can answer, you just look at the sources of the Sefer Chofetz Chaim. It's all Gemaras and Midrashim and so on, and halachos. But this is not a new question. There's a story attached to it that the Rebbe Rashab was asked by the Chofetz Chaim himself, Azegei de Maise, why he doesn't koch in beards and doesn't koch in lashon hara, when shaving a beard or trimming a beard has all kinds of hatadim, and it's maybe one lav deiraisa, and lashon hara is so much more involved. And the Rebbe Rashab is said to have answered that lashon hara you don't do in a premeditated way; it comes out of you. Mashenkin, shaving a beard, you have to take a cream and you have to sit in front of a mirror and until the Shem Yichad Zimazak. So the idea that the reason Chassidim don't koch in lashon hara is that it's not one of those things that you engage in a premeditated way. And perhaps you can say it in different words, the opposite of lashon hara is avas Yisrael, v'ahavta l'recha kamecha. And certainly Chassidim and our Rebbe kocht sich very much in the inyan of v'ahavta l'recha kamecha. So I'm going to say it again, and if I'm called a bad chassid for it, it won't be the first time. And if this is the reason people don't like what I say, then I'll be thrilled, I'll be flattered. V'ahavta l'recha kamecha is one of the 10 mitzvahim. It's a mitzvah in the Torah, and it's the basis for all of Torah. Like Hillel said, daf liba matzveiten yidin. And part of that is not to be busy with klein chavere, not to talk about people and to celebrate people's shame. You have in Chumash, Shem and Yefes saw the shame of their father and they covered it up. They didn't want to see it, they didn't want to hear it, they didn't want to know about it, and they certainly didn't want to celebrate it. It's not true that it's okay for people to speak lashon hara. It's very diminishing of self, and you see it b'mitzias. Forgive me for putting it in plain terms. You go to a table, a Shabbos table, of respectable people, and they sit for an hour or two and talk about other human beings. You walk out of there, you feel like you're in a sewer. And at a certain point, you don't even realize why you feel so filthy. You just spent your time talking about other human beings. And we can all grow in that area.